Episode 2, Electric Boogaloo. Good start. It's funny because this is episode 2, and we're doing Dune 2. That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's like, oh my gosh, that's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I have a story.
Okay.
You want to hear it?
Oh yeah, you were gonna
yeah, you
were gonna tell me in the car, but then you didn't. Yeah.
I might get canceled for it though, so should I still tell it?
We're not live, so yeah.
Okay, so if it's cancelable, you'll tell me to edit it out and we'll cut it out?
Yes.
Okay. I was at the grocery store the other day.
Macy's or Walmart.
That's classified information that I'm not willing to give to the pod.
Okay.
I don't want them to know where we shop.
Well, obviously they know it's Macy's or Walmart.
No, well, I'll edit that part out. I'll edit that part out. Don't worry. Okay, so I was, anyways, and this will connect to Dune 2. Don't worry, this is gonna connect to Dune 2. So, and feel free to chime in. Okay, so I'm at the grocery store. This is a couple of nights ago. I think I just went quickly to get some like Gatorade or something, and I was walking in the parking lot, and in the corner of my eye, I just see like a gray coat, and I think it's a kid doing the gritty. Like, I'm like, someone's doing the gritty. You know what the gritty is, bro?
The dumb dance move.
Yeah, it's like where you kind of like,
it looks silly.
you're like slouched, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's a kid doing a gritty, like the gritty, but it ended up being like I looked for a second, and it ended up being this like 45-year-old man just with the most severe hunchback you've ever seen. So
Sad.
it's sad, right? But like in my mind I just couldn't stop. Like, obviously I kept it to myself, but I thought it was so funny because like I thought it was someone doing the gritty, but it was just like a kind of homeless looking dude with a really severe hunchback.
It's kind of crazy that your brain just thinks like someone's just doing that dance.
Yeah, well,
in the parking lot.
Well, he was literally so his hunchback was so bad, like he was like yay tall,
but he wasn't like old.
And his now he's like middle aged.
Oh.
But like the way his arms were too, like he was kind of like, it looked like he was from like the corner of my eye. And bro was kind of like, he was a little creepy looking, bro. Like he just looked like he belonged to the streets. But like I just remember kind of like at first feeling like that's pretty funny, but then also feeling kind of bad, like, oh.
It's kind of like the same as like at the gym.
What?
I don't really remember what.
Oh yeah, no, tell that story. That's good. Tell that story.
Okay, I'm not mean, but this is kind of mean. I don't know. So I do the stair climber at the gym. I don't know. I guess I was like in an irritable mood. I don't know, but like this person gets on the stair climber next to me. I'm like, okay.
Happens to the best of us.
I'm like, okay, whatever, you know. But they like so loud. Like it sounded like they were like slamming. Like they're like.
Were they on a treadmill or the
elliptical? The stair climber.
Okay.
Like right next to me. Obviously, I didn't like look over at them or didn't say anything.
But you were just annoyed, being like, they're too loud.
I was like, why are they being so loud?
Yeah.
Like in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then the person gets up. They lift the stair climber and they had like a prosthetic leg. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person. That is so mean.
Good
but
stuff.
like the good thing is like I didn't look at them at all. Like so like there's no way that they would know. I didn't look annoyed. Like there's no way that they would know that I was thinking that. But I did feel bad. Yeah. And then after I was like, oh, good for them. Like the stair climber with a prosthetic leg, that can't be easy.
I think everyone's been in situations like that where they say something or like they judge someone a certain way and then they realize that they have something or like there's a reason why they're walking slow and then you are like, oh.
You're like, I feel really bad. I felt so bad.
Yeah. It's okay. The reason why these stories tie in well is because the people
No, you're not gonna compare this guy to the guy in this show, are you?
the people that we're talking about are freaks.
Cody.
And so are the characters in Dune too.
I
So
don't.
I
I
felt like it
don't.
was appropriate.
I don't like that.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah. Anyways, let's cut that out. No, I'm just kidding. So on the list today, we're gonna talk about Dune 2. When we first watched the first movie, we watched like the first 20 minutes and we were like, what is going on? It was a little boring. There were a lot of like rituals that they were doing and things that they were saying that didn't really make sense. And I felt like someone who's like first jumping on, it's kind of like hard at first, but you just have to stick with it because it gets really good. I feel like in the first movie, it doesn't get really good until the second half, which is like the fall of Duke Atreides,
Mhm.
his dad. That's where I think from the first half or the second half of Dune 1 to all of Dune 2, it's like really good. But there are some moments where I'm just like, what the heck is going on? And Dune is just like so deep. Like there's so much like lore behind it, like how all the people live their lives between Paul's group of people and the Fremen, which are the blue-eyed people, and then the creepy pale dudes. Like there's
What are
just
they called?
I don't remember I don't know what they're called. I'd have to look it up. There's just so much. There's 6 books that were made in like the 70s or something. And man, I just didn't know like it was just a series that I kind of slept on. Like I never paid attention to it. When the first one came out, I thought it looked lame, so I didn't get into it. But just like all the hype around Dune 2 made me want to watch it. And yeah, my impressions were it was like cuz you and I feel like we're not really like we don't love the sci-fi genre, especially you. Like you don't like any of the Star Wars films. You don't like Star Trek or I mean I don't know if you've seen them, but I feel like that's not really your
Mm-mm.
preferred genre, but you really like these movies and I really like them because they're actual good sci-fi movies. I think the first thing we should talk about is like when Paul and the mom, which her name is Lady Jessica, when they what?
Is it Jessica?
Lady Jessica. I googled it. I wrote it down.
I swear it was something else. I don't
Well,
know.
she might have another name, but I think they call her Lady Jessica.
Okay.
I googled it and that's what the answer came up as. Anyways, when they first got there, it was kind of like weird with like the mom, like how she had to drink that blue water. They said they were gonna kill her.
Okay, no, they called her like mother. What did they call her? Mother.
But yeah, they started calling her mother or something.
Mother. I don't know what it was,
Okay.
but it kind of seemed like. Gosh, this is hard to like, describe. But you know how they kept saying like they're looking for the one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think in order for there to be for the one, like for in order for that to happen, for there to be someone that's the one, they have to have someone in place as the mother.
Mm-hmm. It's like ritual.
I don't know what it is, but it's like mother something. So she has. They call it the water of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this bright blue water that she has to drink it, and basically, like because they're new, they're kind of outsiders. Her option is to like take on this role as the mother of like the whole tribe, or they're gonna like exile them or kill them. So then she drinks it, and they also say like it can kill you. The like water, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like poison, and you find out later on that it's like literally like blood from the worms.
Yeah,
Like they inject it from the blood of the worms, and that's kind of crazy. It's like kind of like oh damn, that's what it's from.
and then like she took the drink, and then she started like almost like seizing, and then the people were like, "Oh no, she's pregnant," and so
Yeah, but how did they realize that's what's another weird thing about it. It's like, how did they know she was pregnant then? It's like, how did they realize, oh,
Because
she's pregnant?
they probably like saw something or like knew, like they're so used to these rituals, they probably like knew something was off. Like they probably didn't know until she took the water, and then when she took that water, then they were like, oh no. But it makes me like feel like the baby's gonna be like kind of weird. Like
Yeah. The baby is weird
the baby
in
and
the
the mom
movie.
are like she's like what, like I don't know how many months pregnant. Like she's pregnant, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But she'll like talk to Paul and she's like, well, your sister says this. Your
Mm-hmm.
sister says that.
Yeah,
It's
the
like
baby starts
your
talking to her.
baby's like 5 months old. Like
Yeah.
not 5 months old, 5 months in utero.
In her stomach, and she'll always be like, the baby says this. And the mom, like, there were a couple of times where you and I would look at each other and laugh because she would be like, kill him, or like she would say like a really weird
Her
command
voice would
in
change,
like an
but
eviler voice.
it's like she was possessed, like something possesses her to like say that.
Yeah.
And then do you know what the meaning is behind, like she has almost like tattooed like letters
Yeah, I didn't
all
get
over
that.
all over her face?
Did you get it or no? Yeah, I wasn't sure.
I just figured it was something with the ritual,
Yeah,
being
yeah.
the mother, like, but she looks like crazy. Her eyes are like crazy blue now.
Mm-hmm.
She's like almost like a different. She's not really like herself. She's
Yeah,
almost
she
like
kinda
she's almost like
changes,
a
huh?
different person.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like she just becomes like darker and like more greedy and power hungry. And it kind of feels like that's how Paul is too. They're all just like they all have these motives and they all just have a thirst for restoring power basically. So it's like a lot of them are they all have goals. And that's what I talked about in my review. They all have these like set goals that they want to do. And man, it was yeah, both movies have like a lot of weird rituals that like from the outside looking in, like if you're not a huge Dune fan and you just like, hey, let's go watch this, you'll probably be a little bit confused. But like, I don't know. The lore is just really deep with uh with Dune, deeper than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
The original Dune came out in 1984 and it didn't get the praise that sci-fi movies back then got, like maybe like your Star Wars, your Star Treks.
Was competing with those.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Terminator 2, like all those 80s movies. Like um I saw a clip of like a news anchor guy like talking about how much he hated the movie and just like bashing it for like 20 minutes on like the news.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I feel like it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea for that same reason why it's like so dark and kind of mysterious. But that's why you and I feel like liked it. You know, there's romance, there's action. I mean, there's like really cool, like I talked about this in my review too, like the thing where they dig that thing of sand into the ground and it like goes gah, gah, it like draws the worms.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that scene was like really cool. Like every time they did that. Um but yeah, so then they do that stuff with the mother and then it's just like after that it's just kind of like war, like for the entire movie pretty much. Um with some really cool scenes like that part where Paul had the rocket launcher and blew up. Oh no, Shawnee. Is that her name?
Johnny.
Johnny. She had the rocket launcher.
He loaded it for her.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
she
got the shot.
I like her character because she can hold her own. Like
Yeah, she's a bad A.
she, like in their battle, like you know, she has like a blue, like it's not a bandana, it's almost like a blue scarf that she like carries.
Mm-hmm.
Like so she wrapped it around her arm. So like then they went into battle and you could tell that it was her because she had that on her arm.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like killing a bunch of people. Like that's why it's kind of interesting. Like she doesn't really need Paul. Like
Need no man.
well, she doesn't. I mean,
own.
like physical wise, like she doesn't need him.
Anything. Yeah, Paul's a small guy, but
Doesn't need him, but I understand why she gets so mad because he like starts to change. Like
yeah, his thirst for
revenge,
power.
It's more of like him being like, I'm the one. Like it's more of that, like him going into that role. You could tell like they talk about it like like, I don't want to lose you, but she knows that like he's gonna change, but she
Yeah.
still loves him.
She's
But
my
he
favorite
starts
character.
changing into like basically like acting like he's like the
Almost like a
new.
dictator.
Well, he's like the new. He's like their new like messiah. He's like their
Yeah.
new god, and they
He gets a god complex.
well not gone. Well, they've been waiting for like say he is the one. They've been waiting for a god. They've been waiting
He's the
for
chosen one.
the one. So like
Yes.
technically he is their chosen one. He is
Yeah.
like their new god. So like
But with that comes the god complex.
but he takes
that
that like he takes that role
Mm-hmm.
on. And his mom, there's a part where he's like kind of hesitant about all of it. Like he's like, I don't he's like has these visions. Like basically, was he south and his mom went north? I can't remember, but he has these visions.
They do split.
He has these visions where like his mom goes the other end
Uh-huh.
and she's like, come with me. But he has these visions
He
that like
refuses.
he has these visions that like if he goes, there's like a huge famine and like everyone's starving, so he doesn't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So he's very resistant.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part where like his mom yells at him like in the weird voice.
Yeah.
Like she's like, your sister says that you're the one, or like
Yep.
she says something.
Tries to dictate him. I can't tell if the mom is good or bad. Like, is she good? Is she bad? It's like hard to tell sometimes, especially when they do that voice of like, she sounds like deeper and goes like, rah! Like it almost seems like, does she have ill intentions? It's kind of hard. It's almost like everyone has these like set ways of like what they're trying to do, and it's like, who really is the bad guy? It's kind of like you can justify any of them being good or bad because they're all killing each other and they're all at war with each other. But like I said again, I feel like the action scenes were really good. And then one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, and I think you probably agree too, because we kind of both looked at each other like, dang, that was so cool, was when Paul is like, so when Paul first gets there with the Fremen, he is very much like trying to be one of their own. Like he's trying to fit in and like trying to learn their ways of living so he can live with them. And then like as his training goes, eventually he has to ride a worm. And I felt like that scene was so freaking cool. Just like visually and just like the audio in the theater, seeing it in like IMAX, it was just so cool seeing him like hop on the worm for the first time and be like, oh my gosh, he's on it. Really cool scene.
Well, but so what happens is he has to call the worm. Like so he has to put that thing in the sand. Like he has to like he like hits his hand in the sand and he like finds the right place and then he puts that, they call it something, but he puts that in the sand. And so that's what like calls the worm. So that's what causes like the sand to like to come.
Yeah, that thing that I talked about, the gadget.
And so when he sets it off, like this is a test. Like he has to pass this test for him to be part of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're all like sitting on the hill waiting for him. But the one guy, I forgot his name, but he's like, oh no, not that big, not that big. Like he calls such a big worm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that,
they were like worried.
Like, because what happens is the worm comes and they have these like hook things.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call them?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
In the first movie, I'm like, what are those? Like, what is that hook for? But like the worm comes and it creates like a hole, like
in one of the sand waves,
and everything's like going into
sand
the hole,
layers.
And so he has to like use those hooks to catch him, like legit catch himself and hold himself. And so because the worm was so big that he called, they were kind of nervous,
right?
But yeah, then he like made it and he rode the worm and they were all like, woo!
Yeah, cheering.
Yeah,
but it's just like when he calls it, there's like maybe 2 minutes before it actually gets there. And it's just like this buildup of tension, right? Like, oh my gosh, is this worm too big for him? Is it going to kill him? Like, is it going to eat him? Because we saw people get eaten by the worms in the past in the first movie. So it's just this moment of like building up tension, like, oh, that thing is massive. And it looks so, like visually, it's like so majestic, but at the same time, so big and threatening. So the whole time you're just like I said, like a minute of built up, like, oh, here it comes.
And
it's like
just
Jaws
standing there.
Yeah, with a shark. Yeah, and he's just like preparing himself, and then Johnny's character goes like, it's too like the trap was too high, or he needs to go higher. So they were like kind of like, oh no, he's gonna mess up, and that builds the fear of like, oh my gosh, he's gonna get eaten by this worm, or
Well,
he's gonna
yeah,
fail.
when he was first trying to find where to put the thing in the sand, she's like, "Go lower, go
Mm-hmm.
lower," and then he does go lower.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe she felt a little relieved, but then they saw how big it was, and they're like, "Oh
But then he
crap!"
rides it, and then like you said, they start cheering, and then that's when kind of Johnny and Paul kind of start romantically kind of falling in love, kissing, and all that stuff, and kind of developing a relationship. He's constantly telling her, he loves her, but again, through the movie, Johnny, that's why I think she's my favorite character, Zendaya's character, because she realizes that it's all kind of BS. Like, he wanted to become part of them so he could gain their power to build an army, right? That was his whole motive, is to get the Fremen on his side, prove to them that he's the chosen one and that he can lead them to battle. And he got exactly what he wanted. He got an army, and but it costed so many lives of her friends, right?
Well,
And even one of her friends dies in the
if you
movie.
were her, you would feel kind of used, honest.
Uh-huh.
Like she loves him, but I'm sure part of her is
Are you just using my
he
people?
used like her specifically, like because he gained he gained a lot of their trust through her.
Mhm.
Like she was the first one that was like kind of on his side and like telling her friends like, "Hey, be nice. Like
Right.
he's cool. He's good." Like she was the
Mhm.
first one supporting him.
Right, yeah, she was.
And once they saw like obviously they saw for themselves like that they thought that he belongs, but she was
Mhm.
the first one to kind of like take him in. So
Yep.
I mean, I think he does love her. I don't think he intentionally was just like, "I'm going to use you." But at
Yeah,
the end, when he says he's going to marry someone else, if I were her, I'd be like, "What the heck?
I
Like,
know.
What was that all for?"
It made me
Like,
annoyed. I was like, "Dude, you have
well,
Jo."
it makes me confused. Like maybe he has to.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like, well, I think what it is, I mean, I don't know exactly what the author or the director was thinking, but it almost feels like the lust for power and to get what he wants overcame him to the point where, the scene where he drinks the blue water, that's like where it first starts to piss off Johnny, like, what the heck? What's going on? Like, why are you doing this? Why would he do this on his own?
She slaps him.
Slaps him.
She saves him and then she slaps him.
And it's
Like,
crazy because she sees that he's starting to do all these like greedy for power like moves, and she's the only one that sees through it. She's like literally there, like they're all like praising him, and she goes, "Guys, stop! Like, we're gonna go into war. We're gonna get people killed." And no one really cared. They just, like, it was too far gone. He already gained all their trust. They think he's like this powerful being now that's supposed to lead them. And Paul kind of, this is like, Paul gets everything he wants in the movie. Um Throughout it all, he gets all of the Fremen to, praise him, and then he gains a powerful army and goes against the killers of his father, kind of gets everything that he wants. But there's another scene that I want to talk about that really was just, I felt like, amazing. And that is the scene with Fade Rotha, who is the skinnier, pale guy.
mm.
Like, his introduction to the movie is so cool.
Is his introduction
The arena.
yeah, I was gonna think
Yeah,
of the word.
the
Yeah.
arena scene with him, I thought was like so cool because like most of all of the movies in color, and then when it goes to their people, which I still don't know their names of their people, it goes to like it goes to the like black and white, and then he's just in the arena, and I just think that whole part's like so insane. Like, it was so cool to watch.
Cuz he's the what? He's the grandson of their leader.
He is the nephew of the leader, because doesn't he call him uncle?
I thought he was the grandson.
No. Paul is the grandson. You find out later on that Paul is related to them.
Oh yeah,
and he's the grandson.
Okay, but like the whole purpose of the arena was he had to like prove himself.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how Paul had to prove himself in his own way. And so he has to defeat these 3 people, but 2 of the people like on purpose are like, I don't know if they're drugged or if they're just like physically just not.
Because
the one was like limping.
Yeah, they were slow.
And the other guy was just like really slow to like react. And so they had them like that, or had those people whatever in there on purpose because
That's so messed up.
Because he could easly kill them. Like that was the whole point. Was like he needs to kill 3 people.
Yep.
But they're fine. And then the third guy in there, for whatever reason, they're like he's not slow, and he's not like limping. He's not like he's totally normal. And so then everyone's like saying like we should call the fight because they're like, oh my gosh, she could actually kill him. Like. And he, he'll die, whatever.
And the reason why he's not drugged is because Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, the bigger one, purposefully didn't drug that one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of messed up. So it's like a big arena, and all of their people are there, like cheering him on, kind of like a gladiator scene.
It's like thousands of people.
He's like showing off his knives and doing tricks and killing the people very easily because, like I said, everyone's drugged besides the main villain in there. But besides one guy, and he's not drugged, and he actually puts up quite the fight. And another thing before we get to that duel is I thought it was so creepy when the like devil looking guys ended up like walking out from behind the wall and just surrounding him, and they all had swords. It was just so creepy, like it was so eerie. And to me it was just so cool, like having like, what the hell is this? What's going on? It's so dark, it's so eerie. This dude's just murdering people for sport. And then the guy that isn't drugged has like a duel with him for a while. There's a lot of duels in Dune, a lot. But they have like this knife duel. The villain ends up beating the guy.
But do you remember like the one part where they're all freaking out, like, oh my gosh, she's gonna kill him, he can kill him. And then those guys come out. Those guys start kind of like attacking the one that wasn't drugged. They kind of start like attack, like, because he's getting too close to the the main one we're talking about in the arena.
Yeah. So the guy in the arena is Fade Rotha.
Okay, so Fade,
and he's in the 80s.
Yeah, so Fade Rotha, it's just him and the other guy left, and the other guy's getting kind of close to him, and the guys in the black, like those random guys, they come and they start like hitting the guy with like their like, I don't know what they have, but like they have like these like little weapons, and they start like hitting him because he was getting close to.
He was maybe gonna beat Fade Rotha.
Yeah, and so
I don't remember that.
And then Fade Rotha's like,
oh, that's right.
He's like, go away. Like
he screams at them to back off. That's right.
Like you can tell how like how high his ego is because he's like, get rid of him. I'm gonna kill him myself. I mean, and then he does, and then afterwards he's like, you tried to kill me, uncle. Like,
yeah, that's right. He has that meeting where he's like, I should kill you because you tried to get me killed. And it almost seemed like he was doing it to test if he could be a true noble warrior and a true like killer, which was like, dang, that's so savage to put your nephew into that. And and so Paul and him are cousins. And what you don't know until the end of the movie is that the mom of Paul is Baron Vladimir Harkonnen's daughter. So Paul is related to him, and you don't find that out until pretty much near the end of the movie.
She's the daughter of the uncle guy?
She's the daughter.
I didn't put it together.
Yeah. She's the daughter of the fat villain that can float.
His genes did not get passed down.
I know. She's a beautiful woman.
She's a very like in the first movie, I was like, she's a very pretty lady.
Yeah, she's very beautiful.
And like, she looks like she could be his mom, but she also doesn't look like that. She doesn't look very old. Like, she looks really good.
Yo, how did he pass that down, bro?
Like, she looks really good, and you know what I mean. And even with like all the words on her face, like, she still looks pretty, which is crazy because She looks like crazy still.
She's beautiful. Even with like she gave off like a sexy witch,
Sexy
sexy
sorcerer lady. But it was so, because in the movie, like during that like one fight, I heard the part like, oh yeah, Paul's the grandson, but I like all their names was hard for me to put together, like because they're so interesting. So I didn't put together like who, like how they were related. Like I didn't put together that she was his daughter.
Yeah, and then at the very end of we'll get there, but the duel with God, all their names are so hard, so I had to write it on a list.
Yeah.
Sorry. The Fade Rotha and Paul Atreides, when they duel, they're meeting for the first time, but they know they're cousins. And it's such a cold line where he's like, it's nice to meet you, cousin, and it's like, it's sad that he says something about it's sad that we have to kill each other. And Fade Rotha goes like, this isn't the first time that I've had to kill family, and you're just like, damn, like so savage, and it's just so cool.
Like in this movie, kind of like in this world, like a lot of people, family doesn't like mean anything.
No, it's
like,
just like
family can be like your worst enemy. Like they're so like greedy, and so like it's just interesting.
It's funny because like people will be like, what movie universe would you want to live in? And I think Dune would be on the list of like, no, I don't want to be in that world. Yeah.
Well, they are fighting constantly. Like
it's constant war. And
like honestly, they fight so much. The odds that like the ones that are still alive, I'm like, if this was the real world, like you fight that often, like you know what I mean? Like
there's the real world.
There's so many. Well, there's so many close calls. Like where like Paul's running behind. I don't know how to. But
the
like
tank thing.
Like he's trying to stay behind like the wing.
Yes, that's the bazooka part that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and he's running and like they're shooting at him and like he dodges all the bullets.
So
like
cool, such a cool scene.
It's cool. It is cool. But
this movie's so cool.
There's so much fighting. I'm like, okay, this is like, it's almost like the point where it's like not realistic.
Well, yeah, it's a sci-fi action.
Like, and I'm not expecting it to be realistic.
Yeah,
but it's almost like
people can't ride on people are riding big caterpillar worms that are 200 feet tall.
No, I know exactly, but my point is like, I'm like, man, like they kill so many people, they fight so many people, but I mean, but it does show a lot of people on both sides that die, that get killed.
Yeah,
like their own. Like, it shows their own people. That get
it's almost
killed,
like you can't really. I mean, you kind of root for Paul, right, at first, because he wants to avenge his father, because his father's death, I feel like out of everybody, his father is actually a pretty good guy. Like, he tried to migrate to their land and, like, create peace, and then he gets assassinated, and then Paul just has, like, a bloodlust for revenge. But it's like, you can't really, if there's a good person, I would say it's Johnny. In the whole movie, like she's the only one that's like, wait, let's not do this, and everyone else is just like, yeah, let's follow Paul.
I don't think Paul's a terrible person. I think I don't think
he's good. I don't know, it's hard.
You can see him, he can go either way.
It's almost like he's starting to become like Freyr Rotha and God, his name again, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. It's like how is he any better than them?
Well, I'm not talking about that part. I'm talking about like in the beginning. Like,
yeah,
I don't think he's necessarily bad because he also has all this pressure of everyone saying like, you're the one, you're the one. And so it's like,
exactly, yeah.
It's like, if he didn't have that, I don't think he would be as like, maybe he wouldn't end up as greedy.
Yeah.
But he has it in his head like, I'm the one, so I'm going to do all the stuff that I need to do to make that happen.
Yeah, but I feel like you could say that about Freyr Rotha too, right? Because he was raised to be put in death arenas and to kill family members. Like he was born into that too. So that, again, that's why I know the movie, like, you kind of want Paul to win to avenge his dad, so like you're kind of voting for him, like you like him and Johnny like being a couple. But it's just like if you really look into it, you can like justify any of their actions or not justify any of their actions. And I think that's what makes the movie so damn good. You know, I feel like in a lot of movies, you need someone to root for, which you kind of do with Paul. You do a little bit. But like near the end, I started to be more like, should I be rooting for this guy? It seems like he's on a warpath now.
I don't know. It's like hard because I feel like I still was finding myself rooting for him. Like when he drank that water, and I was like, "Is he gonna die?"
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you don't
like
want him to
don't
die. Yeah,
die.
totally.
So it's like you might
Yeah.
not agree with like exactly what he's doing, but it's like you still are choosing him over, like at least me. Like somehow you're
Yeah.
still choosing him over the other guys.
Yeah, totally.
And one thing about their people, the Fade Rotha,
They're ugly.
their
And
eyes,
they're creepy.
their eyes are so creepy. They're like black.
Oh, they are so intense looking and
They're
so
black
scary.
with like no white. There's no whites of their eyes.
Yes.
And then their head shapes are like really funny.
Yeah, they're really pale, just really creepy looking. Even the women
Not even pale, just like they are white. Like
with black eyes.
yeah, like they're like it's like you're in black and white. Like
They are scary.
they're just weird looking. And especially the girls because they're all bald. Like none of
Yes,
them
they're all bald.
like really none of them have
Hair.
hair. And there's one part, I don't know if you remember, but like the Vladimir guy, whatever, he's so weird. He has like a hot tub, but it just looks like tar. Like
Yes.
this like tarry liquid that he like sits in.
Mhm.
But there's like these two girls. Like all this like dialogue is happening, whatever,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
these two girls just like in the corner and they're like postures, like two of the girls that are look like them.
Mhm.
But their posture's really weird. They're
Yeah.
like looking like this, like, and they're
Mhm.
just standing there, like they're just really. They did really good at making them look like really odd. Like
Yeah.
they look really creepy.
Yeah, even the Fremen. The Fremen are weird. Like they're having people drink worm blood. They have all these weird rituals with the women and the men. They have to kill each other to be a part of it. Like it's just interesting how they have these weird rituals. The one thing that I thought was really cool, real quick, about the Fremen is that when their people die, they gather their sweat or like their liquids and then put it in that like creek, and it's like all of their spirits are in there.
Oh yeah, it's like sacred water. Because I was
Yeah.
wondering, I'm like, they're not gonna drink that, right? That's gross.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I was wondering, and even Paul, when they were doing that, Paul was like,
And then Lady Jessica goes like, I sense so many spirits in this room. Like it's just like it's so interesting to me. I like how much detail they put into the races of the people and like their rituals. At first, when I in Dune 1, I was like, this is weird and boring, and is this really necessary? But then in Dune 2, I was like, I was digging it. Like I thought it was really cool.
what's the? I forgot his name. What's like the main, like one of the main guys of the Fremen? The one.
The one with the blue eyes, and he's got the beard, and he makes jokes.
They all have blue eyes.
Yeah, I know. I know who you're talking about. I have his
But-
name.
He's funny. He's like just how like they're all like so obsessed with like the one is coming, that like Paul-
Stilgar,
Stilgar.
I think.
Paul will literally do like anything. He'll like say a sentence, like a random sentence, or like he'll do the most basic thing. And he's like, that's a sign. That is
Yeah.
a sign. Like it's almost like comical. Like Paul does anything and he's like, see? That's a sign. Like he's trying to convince like those that are doubting, like, he's the one.
There isn't really much comedy in this movie, but he had a couple of scenes that were pretty funny because of like how he was acting. So that was good. Yeah, his character's fun. But yeah, he's just so blindly following Paul that it's like, dang. And yeah, no, I like his character too. I liked Josh Brolin's character, which was Paul's friend and also Duke's friend that he finds later on in the movie and goes, Paul! He's got the beard.
Oh, yeah.
His character was fun. It's just and another thing, like I talked about this in my review, like usually when there's a lot of big actors in a fantasy or sci-fi movie, kind of like draws me out. But in this movie, I felt like every big actor did so well that like I was just like impressed and never like felt drawn out of the movie. So let's see, where are we at? So we talked about him running the worm. We talked about the arena scene. Okay, so the next scene I want to talk about is the fall of the Fremen. Like
Mm.
when what's their name? The bad guys. I don't know the race of their
The
people.
the
The creepy pale
the
dudes.
black the like I don't
Black
know
eyed pale dudes.
bad guys.
Yeah, so they wanna kill Paul. Because they're trying to wipe out. They were trying when they killed Duke. They were also trying to kill Paul and the mother, but they got away. So they kind of spend the whole movie trying to find them. And there's scenes where Batista's character, what's his name? I think I wrote it down. No, I didn't write it down. I wrote the name of the actor and I put buff villain. But his character kind of goes like on a bounty hunt for Paul, and he's kind of angry throughout the whole movie because they're failing to find him, and it makes him look bad. So there's a scene where he grabs some dude's head and starts gah gah because he's like, "You need to relax. We're gonna find him." And he's like, "Don't tell me to relax." Grabs his head, gah, and just bashes him over and over.
And then he bashes him like 4 or 5 times, and he's a big guy. And so we both kind of thought like, "Oh, that guy's dead."
Mm-hmm.
And then like later in the movie, he shows up again. We're like, "I guess that guy's alive." Like,
Yeah, not dead.
because he slammed his head into the desk like
Yeah.
10 times.
Yeah. So yeah, their goal is to find him. And I don't remember how they. Do you remember how they ended up finding that place, or was it just kind of like, oh, they're here all of a sudden?
I'm not quite sure, but I do remember like they would attack like the middle of like the desert.
Yeah, there were a lot of like little attacks.
So many times they would
Yeah.
attack, like whenever they attacked the middle of the desert, like the Fremen always, we were like bombing their ships, or they
Yeah.
were always able to like, I don't know what it was about that. Maybe they knew they were coming,
Mm-hmm.
and so those were always like failed.
Yeah.
And that's also kind of why that guy was frustrated, because like he kept being like, "What the heck? Why are we failing?"
Yeah, what the heck? Yeah, he was so mad that he couldn't find Paul and kill them because the Fremen. Another thing I want to talk about, they were so cool in like their attack tactics, like how they would hide underneath the sand and then quickly sprout out and kill their enemies. Like there were just so many, like the choreography. Did I say that word right? Choreography.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I think so. Finish your sentence, but I think so.
Okay, yeah. The choreography in the fighting scenes with the duels were so cool. Like just seeing the Fremen like pull out of the sand and then stab him in the leg and then stab him in the neck. Just like all of these scenes were just like, man, the action in this is so well done.
Ooh,
yeah.
one thing
Oh, go ahead.
I liked, yeah, like the first time they popped out of the sand, you were like, "Whoa!"
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how they ended up finding like their village, but their timing was really good because weren't like half the Fremen, they were like out, they were like away
Mm-hmm.
battling, like they weren't there.
Yeah.
So I don't know, somehow they like timed it right, or I don't know how it ended up happening, but they weren't there to like protect their village.
Yes.
They came to the village being destroyed. So it's like I don't know when, like how they.
Yeah,
did that.
because you see Johnny kind of like crying and no, they're like, "Where's Johnny?" And then she's just looking, and then she looks devastated, and then they see just explosions, and Johnny is devastated because it's by their home village where all the women are and where the River of Souls is. So they start freaking out, and then they head back, and it's just like devastation, like women and children dead, people crying because they found them and they attacked. It was just kind of like a really sad scene. That's kind of where Johnny starts to be like, "Man, you brought us into your war. Like, all of my people are getting killed because they're looking for you." And then that's where I think Paul, maybe he does it because he doesn't feel like he's powerful enough or not ready to fight. So that's when he drinks the blue water, the poison, right?
Well, he has to drink it to become the one. That's like the same reason why like his mom had to drink it. Like he has to drink it.
Okay.
I mean, no one could like force him to drink it, but I think like he had to drink it in order for that to like. There's so many like things that have to like occur.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to happen like specifically to him in order for him to become the one. So that was like one more thing that like he had to do.
And then, so yeah, he does that. then, like I said, Johnny slaps him, runs off.
But she saves him and then she slaps him because he was like kind of dying, but she has these like magical tears
Right,
that
right.
if they're mixed with the water, like it reminded me of like Tangled almost.
Yeah, yeah. There's
But
a lot
like
of weird stuff in the movie,
like
like
the
I said.
tear, like it
Like
was
I
sad
said.
because she's crying because like he's dying, but it's like
Yeah.
the tear and the like water of life or whatever, those combined helped save him. And so it was interesting because she saves him because she loves him, and
Yeah,
then
she still loves him.
once he's once he's awake, then she slaps him like screw
Yes.
you. She walks away.
Yeah, and she like you can tell they're starting to like pull apart because every time she starts looking at him now, you can tell that she's like angry at him and like, dude, you are totally like screwing my people over right now. By going into war. But then Paul like so rewinding a little bit. So like all the people are devastated. They're in this like big like synagogue or something like in a cave.
They're in the same place where people drink the water, like
Okay.
where they're in that same area where they get the water from the sandworm.
Oh,
yeah,
I think
right.
Oh, I'm talking about the part where Paul comes in and convinces them all to go to war.
Yeah, is that not in? I think it's in the same. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, it's probably relatively close because it's like their village.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
That's when Paul like. At first, they're like, kind of like, "F you, you're the reason why we're dying now," and then he convinces them all like to go to war through like being powerful and be like, do not question me. Like he's kind of starts to become like more like authoritative. Yeah. Oh my god. Anyways, so and that convinces all of the Fremen to all right, let's get our vengeance.
Well, do you remember like the very, very specific part that convinced all of them?
I don't.
Besides Johnny?
Go ahead.
I mean, I don't remember all of it, but there was something he was talking to just like one of the people, like he was like in the front row. And he was talking to them because like he has to prove that he's the one. And I don't know how it came about, but he's talking to him about like something in the past, and he says the word Dune, and everyone's like,
he does say Dune.
Like it's like something that he shouldn't know. Like he shouldn't know that, but he does.
Oh.
And so it's something like that. Does that make sense?
I don't remember. I do remember him mentioning that, but I don't remember exactly what he said there. What he did to convince them.
All he said was Dune. He was like talking to the guy. I can't remember what they were like talking about in the past. Like something. The way I interpreted it was like it's something that like he shouldn't have known that unless he's the one, or like there's no way that he would have known.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Dune. Like
I do remember something like he said something to like have everyone go.
Yeah, once he said that, like that's when, like up until he said that, everyone was like kind of still questioning. But once he said that, they all like bowed down.
Yes.
I mean, Johnny was like standing there, and the friend like pulled her down.
Yeah. And then so he gathers up the troops, and now he's headed to where Frey Rotha and Vladimir Harkonnen, their home base. Like it's time to strike back. So they do that, and this is kind of like the last war part, kind of nearing the end. They start going to war, more awesome fight scenes, more duels, a lot of people getting killed. And the Fremen are winning. And so one thing we haven't actually talked about is, so I think this is important. So Christopher Walken is what's his name? What is he? He's like the leader of the other people that paid. I wrote it down. Oh, he's the emperor that laid out the order for Freyr Rotha's people to go in and kill Paul's dad, Duke, the emperor. You know who I'm talking about? The older guy.
Oh,
with Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
So their people. So Christopher Walken is the emperor, and he believes that the Duke going to where the Fremen are, he thinks that he's a bad leader. and he thinks that his motives are bad. So he orders the Pale people to assassinate him. But they don't ever show him in the first movie, and they don't ever talk about him giving those orders. So you just think these Pale people are the bad guys. But Christopher Walken is the true bad guy because he ordered Vladimir Harkonnen and all of his warriors to kill Duke. He ordered that. So he was the mastermind behind it all. And you don't really find that out for a while until the second movie, I believe. Unless I missed it, but I think you don't realize it's him for a while. So they actually raid his home base, and I think the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen and Braid Rotha just happen to be there for some reason. And they're in the throne room, and they know that they're like, oh, we are getting raided right now by the Fremen. They are attacking. They're about to come in. And that's when Paul storms in. Oh, the first thing is... Wait. So I want to talk about real quick Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. Who ends up hitting him? Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, like in the neck. The bigger bad guy. He gets hit his machine gets hit. I think by a soldier from the... God, who does that? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't know what part. I know who you're talking about.
Okay, so the part where...
There's so many, like...
They're in the throne room. Damn, this is gonna bug me. They're in the throne room. It's near the end. And Vladimir Harkonnen and Freyd Roth are in there. And someone, like, hits his machine to, like, paralyze him, basically. Because without his machine, he can't really function. And then he lays on the stairs. You know what I'm talking about now? It's near the end, and then Paul, when he's laying down, he's like, "You're gonna die like an animal," and stabs him in the neck.
The Emperor.
Not the Emperor, the fat main villain, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen.
I don't know. I'm like struggling. Okay. I'm struggling to remember.
I think kind of like Vladimir Harkonnen, his mission fails, and I think one of the Emperor's soldiers ends up destroying his machine behind his back, and then he's left there paralyzed. And that's when Paul and the Fremen come in, and they end up killing him. They end up killing the big guy. Do you know that part? And he goes, "Nice to meet you, Grandpa. You're gonna die like an animal." Stabs him in the neck, kills him. I hated that part because I felt like Vladimir Harkonnen was so threatening and so cool in the first movie. Like, he just floats and he's so threatening and he just kills everybody in his path. So I felt like this is the first thing that I did not like about the movie was his death.
Like, it was too easy? It
was too easy, yes. So I was like, man, I was really hoping for an epic duel where he's like creepily like floating around and like swinging his sword and like, oh, like something like that. But he just kind of died like a wimp. But it was because they did it while he wasn't looking and he wasn't like expecting it. So I felt like his demise was kind of like, I'm glad that he died, but it wasn't as juicy and satisfying as I wanted it to be. So that happens, and then Paul, like, it's like very obvious that Paul has won the war. Paul's in charge now. He has a knife. He's ready to kill the Emperor. And then that's when Florence Pugh's character, who's the princess of the Emperor, the daughter of the Emperor, goes, "If you don't kill him, I will give you the power and give you my hand in marriage," saying like, if you don't kill him, you can become the Emperor. Just spare him. And he doesn't kill the Emperor because he wants power, right? And that's where I'm so devastated because, you know, Zendaya's character loved him. And there's a moment there where she realizes like, oh, he doesn't actually love me. Or that's how I took it. Because he would rather be the Emperor and rule the land with Florence Pugh and have the power rather than marry Zendaya's character.
I think he still loves her. loves her, but I don't think he loves her enough. He
Okay.
doesn't love her right now as much as he loves power. And I kind of the whole time I was like, maybe he's bluffing. You know, like when he first says it, I'm like, maybe he's bluffing when he's like, okay, fine. But then, like, he says it again, and then it's
Mhm.
like, oh, he actually means this. Like, it's weird to me because I don't know, it's kind of odd because he's at this like the first person he ever killed was one of the Fremen, and he
Mhm.
had to kill him to become
To
part of
become
them.
them.
Up until that point, he hadn't killed anyone.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, he's killed like a lot of people
Yeah,
in battle. And so
Mhm.
kind of interesting to me. I'm like, he's killed all these people, and then she's basically like begging him, like, don't kill him. And then he's like, okay, I won't kill him, I'll marry you. It's like he's killed so many people. What's stopping him from killing the Emperor? Like,
Yeah, he goes on this warpath to avenge his father, but he doesn't kill the actual person that was the cause of it. The Emperor was the one. The Emperor is the reason why his dad is dead, and he ended up just killing the messengers, the people that
what
laid out the order.
and it's so wrong that like I feel like marrying her defeats the whole purpose. Because now he's like part of them. Like now, you know what I mean? Like now he's like say if he actually does marry her, now he's like tied to the emperor. Like he has
Yeah,
power, but he's married to like the people that he's supposed to be like like he's supposed to be avenging his people because of them, and then
yeah.
he's gonna marry her.
And now he's gonna be. I
Almost
think.
like one of them. Like
Yeah, I think in his mind. I mean, this is coming from someone who didn't really know much about Dune, but I think in his mind he's thinking if he takes the throne and rules over the Emperor, he can create peace between the Fremen and everyone's people. Like he can be the peacekeeper.
and that's actually kind of what like the whole sole purpose of him becoming the one. Like that's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah. Like he's supposed to be the chosen one and lead them to peace and prosperity.
Like that's what they keep saying to
And I
him.
think I think him maybe him not killing the emperor is the first or is the next step. Just dethroning him and creating order. Because if he kills him,
Then they're
then there
gonna
will
have
be
more war and
yeah, because if he kills him, then the people that he would eventually rule over, Florence Pugh's people, it would be like there would probably be an uproar and anger towards Paul because he killed their emperor. But since he spared him,
mm,
maybe it will be less of a of riots and an uprising of the people because he didn't kill him. That's
yeah.
just maybe what I'm thinking.
No, I think it actually makes sense. I think the part that made me mad that's like upsetting is like he's on this like power roll,
Yeah, he's a power
power
trip.
he's on this like power trip right now to where it's almost like he's like sacrificing like basically he's like I either choose and rule over all of these people and I do this or it can be with Johnny. Like and he's kind of
Mhm.
like, well, he's like I'm going to rule over the people. It's like it's almost kind of like have you heard like the sayings like would you save like a bus full of random people or would you save like your one kid? Like if you had to choose, like what would you do? Or like
Mhm.
that's maybe not a good example, but you know, have you heard of like scenarios like that, like
Yeah, yeah.
hypothetical scenarios?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like that. I
Mhm.
feel like, and he's just
He has this tunnel vision.
like about being the one, and so then he's just kind of like, oh, like I think he still loves Johnny, but I think he thinks that it's more important for him to rule
Mhm.
than it is for him to be with her, which is sad.
He he will do whatever it takes to become the leader, gain that power, and hopefully sustain peace and prosperity. It kind of actually reminds me of the movie Whiplash, where he's so obsessed with becoming the best drummer in the world, to where he breaks up with his girlfriend because he thinks that he will slow her down. And another great movie, but it's kind of similar where they both have these goals and they're gonna do it no matter what it costs. And Yeah, overall. Oh, and then the last maybe major scene we should talk about is the duel between Freyr Rotha and Paul. Um, really awesome. I thought Freyr Rotha was gonna. So okay, so at the very end, after all that, they discuss like, okay, I'll marry you and become the emperor. First, I don't remember why, but for some reason, Freyr Rotha or Paul has to kill Freyr Rotha in a duel before he can do that. They explain why, but I don't
Well,
remember.
I think it's like either one of them at this time is like gonna be like the next one to rule.
Mhm.
Like it's either gonna be him or it's gonna be him. Like they are the two
Oh,
that
they're the
it's
two.
they're the two that it's behind. Like he's
Right,
the
because isn't Freyr Rotha the chosen one too? Like
well,
they're saying
Freyd.
that.
Oh, we forgot to say this. Freyd Rotha, him killing those 3 people in the arena, that like made him like
Solidified
their
him.
successor or like their
Okay.
person
Okay.
that is like next in line.
Okay.
So I think they had a duel because it's like it's either him or him. Like one of them has to rule, and so they decide everything by fighting
And rituals and
They're like,
killing
who's
each
gonna
other,
kill him? Okay, you win now.
which is
like,
so cool. But not a world I would want to live in, but it is cool. So yeah, Freyr Rotha ends up stabbing Paul, and you're like, oh my gosh, is Paul gonna die? And he's like breathing heavily and like panting, like like.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's a weird. It just sounded weird right there. Anyways, and then they're both down, and it's kind of like showing their upper half of their bodies, and they're like into each other, and you just keep hearing Paul like struggle and pant, and you're like, oh, he killed Paul, or like, oh, he's killing Paul, but then you see that Paul dug a dagger into him.
Like they both stabbed each other.
Yeah, but Paul stabbed him in maybe a more pivotal
Mm-hmm.
like wound, and it kills Freyr Rotha, and Paul becomes the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the very end of the movie, he talks about how he wants to go to paradise, is what it's called, and take that place back over because I think it's overrun with the Emperor's people. So the very end of the movie is like, all right, we're taking back what's rightfully ours, the last land where the Emperor's people are.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes off in a ship, and then that's what you were talking about at the beginning of the podcast. The very end, it shows Zendaya looking really pissed off, and then she calls a worm, and then the movie ends. Right? That's the end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, I know I'm with you. I'm like, will Johnny's character try to stop Paul? Will she like kill Paul in the next movie to like get this to stop? Like, it's just kind of interesting. How is their relationship going to be in the third movie?
Well, it's interesting because Paul's obviously chosen people over Johnny.
Yeah, power.
Yeah, and like, yeah, the reason why I say people is he's choosing to be the leader over all of these people instead of Johnny. Like he's choosing that. But like you said, it'll be interesting to see, like, is she going to choose her people over? I mean, it's hard.
She will be loyal to her people.
Well, it's hard because, like, he's already shown her, like, I don't want to be with you.
Yeah, he's kind of like a dictator. Like he's
And
like
so,
scaring her almost.
So I don't know if she's going to go as far as like trying to kill him, but there's definitely going to be, and it's like, the crazy thing is, since Paul said, it's like Paul can't go back now and say, actually, I'm not going to marry you. Like,
right.
It's almost like once he said it, it was done. And then she was looking at him like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, so it's interesting. Like, I feel like for the third movie, I feel like Paul could, like, it can go any direction. It can be like Paul, like, killing a bunch of people, like, up in paradise or whatever it's called. It can it could be him being good and trying to just restore order and bring peace. It's kind of like, I can't really tell what like Paul's motives are going to be once he's actually up there. Is he gonna like kill people? Is he gonna go on a war path? It's gonna be interesting, and it makes me really excited for the third movie.
I know. Now I'm like,
We're fans now.
Now you have to wait like
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
and by the time it's like, oh yeah, dang it. One thing that I thought was interesting, um, when Fade Rotha and Paul are having their duel, like even Fade Rotha can tell that Paul is in a relationship with Johnny.
Oh yeah, he
Like
does say
he can
something.
tell. He's like, "Is this your
Yeah.
pet? Is this your pet?" Like just by the way she's looking at him,
Yeah, because
and
she looks
he's
devastated
and
when he
he's
gets stabbed.
and he's looking at her, like he knows, right away that like they're together, and
That's
so
right.
he like brings that up during their duel, like.
Mhm. Yeah, that part was interesting because like
He's like taunting
he was
him.
yeah,
Like,
it was like I felt so bad. I was like, he's gonna kill Paul and mock his woman too. It was so degrading. I was like, no, Paul. But that's what made Freyr Rotha such a awesome villain. He was just so cutthroat, so savage, so cruel. Man, it's just such a great movie. So I gave it an 8.8 out of 10. And like my rating system is like 1 through 5, bad movies, wouldn't recommend. 6, didn't really like the movie, but there was something I enjoyed out of it. 7 being 7 to 7.4 are like movies
you're
that
so specific.
I know, movies that I like, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to people. 7.5 to 8 is 7.5 to 8 is like I would tell people to go see it in theaters. It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. 8 to 9 is like it was probably a top 10, top 20 movie of the year. Go see this movie. It was so good. It can end up being a classic. And then 9 through 10 is like all-time great movies. So with all that being said, where would you put it in that number rating?
With the same rating like scale as you.
Same scale, yeah. I kind of put you on the spot, sorry.
I think like 9.
Damn!
Like just a solid 9. Well,
that's a great score. No, it's don't doubt yourself.
Well, it's hard because it's like
You think it could be like a movie of the year? I think it could be a movie of the year. One of the best movies
well,
of the
it's
year.
just like I'm just trying to understand like your scale. Like
Yeah.
so like I think yeah, maybe 9
Kinda put you on the
but like
spot.
10 like I just like
A 10
what
will never
would be,
happen because a 10 would be that means it's a perfect movie and there isn't a single flaw. I've never watched a movie on my scale that would be a 10.
Okay, so I thought 10 was going to be just like these are like top 10 movies I've ever seen.
Like some of my favorite movies of all time are like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I would put them in like 9.7, 9.6. And those are like my all-time favorite movies. But no, I'm not trying to like make you like I gave it an 8.8. So it's like and a lot of people are praising it.
I like 8, 9, 7 like the 8.8.
You know what my rating system basically is?
Just round it up. The pizza guy.
I like Dave Portnoy's rating.
I was actually thinking that.
Yeah.
Cody watches
the One Bite Pizza review guy, Dave Portnoy.
He's like the
president
owner
of Barstool Sports.
His rating is like very specific. I was actually, you know what's funny is I was actually thinking that when you were like 8.8, I'm like, okay, I wonder what the scale is.
I like his scale because
from.
when there's a pizza that's really good and he puts it in the 9s, you're like, whoa! Like it's like it actually means something. Too many people like with their rating systems, they'll put like things too high. Like everything will be like a 9 and you're like, okay, it's not special. Like it doesn't make it feel special. That's why I didn't put it in the 9s. I barely didn't put it in the 9s. I feel like it had the reason why there were two major things I didn't like about it. One was I didn't like how
the one guy died.
I didn't like how he died. He went out like kind of like a little bitch.
And big guy just
he just fell like he died like a dog.
Taken down so easy. But I wonder if part of that is showing like kind of how crappy he was. Like he wasn't a good fighter. He wasn't a great leader. I think maybe part of that is like showing his like how weak he is. Or
how weak he is without his machine.
Or maybe there's not like really any meaning behind it. I don't know.
I just felt like he died in a lame way. I also feel like I mean, the movie's so good, but there's not like it's hard to say. I feel like sometimes the characters feel a little bit one note because the whole movie they're just angry and they just want to kill, which is so good in this movie. So maybe I'm not being fair, but I don't know. They're all just like angry the whole time.
Are you saying like you wish there were like some lighter moments in there?
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
yeah, maybe like a little bit more like affection between him and Johnny. Maybe that would have made it better. Like when they win. I know they have scenes where they cheer, but it's just like the movie's kind of got like a depressing, angry, aggressive
yeah.
vibe the whole time, which is it's good, but I don't know.
I will say like between him and Johnny, like there's not a lot. Like they really don't. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
their relationship doesn't look that strong because they don't show them together a lot. They show a lot of her, a lot of him. Like they have like 2 scenes together, really, where they're like close, and then the rest it's like I feel like that's lacking.
Yes. That's exactly what it is, and that's exactly why I couldn't put it in the 9s, is because I was never really emotional at all. I never really felt any emotion other than, dang, this movie's so cool. Oh, that was so savage. Oh, that was so awesome. Which is fun, but I never felt like when Paul was about to die, I was never like, oh no. Or like when Zendaya and him were starting to be romantic, I never felt like, I don't know, I was just kind of it's hard to explain. Just kind of like watching it, going through the motions of it without like feeling too ecstatic and throughout the movie, other than like the action scenes being like really cool.
What's really fast paced is it doesn't really give you time to like.
Yeah.
But I just think, I mean, maybe it's so interesting because it's like it makes you wonder, like maybe they did it on purpose, like.
Oh yeah, everything
like
was
with,
intentional.
Like with this part, like I'm sure they did, like Johnny and Paul, like obviously they show that they're a couple and they like care for each other, but they don't show them together a lot. They don't show that they're like ride or die, like I'll die for you. You know what I mean? Like they don't show
you don't
like
know if he even would.
They don't show like how. They don't show them as being like that strong or being like that close to each other. Like the relationship, you don't really know exactly like how strong it is, and so I kind of feel like if, like, say they portrayed it more, like they showed them more, or they portrayed that their relationship was like more than it is, then you'd be more devastated when like when she's upset.
Yeah.
But here it just kind of seems like she loves him. I don't know if he loves her.
He continues to reassure her, like, I will die for you. I love you. His words are saying that, but his actions aren't. So it's kind of like, but you're willing to put her people at risk and go to war. So like, I don't know.
How
would
much,
you actually die for her?
Well, it's like, how much can you really love her if, like, he kind of has to choose one or the other. Like, he can't be with her, I don't think, and also like rule the kingdom.
Be the emperor and rule the kingdom.
Yeah, it's like which he has to pick, and so
it seems like he has to marry royalty, which that sucks. Who's prettier? I mean, who do you think is prettier between Florence Pugh and Zendaya? They're both, pretty women, but I feel like I talk about how pretty girls are too much on this podcast.
I want to say, like, I think Zendaya has more like natural.
Just good banter for the pod.
I think she has more like natural beauty.
Who?
Zendaya.
Yeah.
And how many actresses? No, listen. How many actresses or actors do you know that they can go by one name? Like she's that iconic or like that relevant.
Yeah.
That Zendaya, and it's so unique, and it's her name. I think it's not like a fake name for her.
Are her and Tom Holland still dating?
Isn't it her whole? I think so. Like it's her real name, right?
Is that her real name? I know that's her. She used to make music back in the day, like a long time ago.
She was on Disney Channel.
Yeah,
she was on like a little dance show. Okay. Yeah.
She's a really talented actress.
You know what I mean? Like, because when we were looking at the credits, I was like, that's so interesting. Like Zendaya, like she doesn't have to say her last name, which is really interesting. But I feel like I've just seen Zendaya more. I haven't. I mean, Florence Pugh, she's pretty. She's not.
They both are incredible actresses.
They're very
different looking.
They're very different. Yeah. It's like what spectrum?
Nah, just kidding. What do you like? It's just like, what do you like more, kind of. But no, both of them. Florence Pugh started her first like big break movie. I feel like was Midsummer. You would hate that movie. Like that would probably be your. You would probably give that movie a 0. You would hate it. That's the one where. You know when I started watching those A24 movies and I would have trouble sleeping at night?
I saw the preview for it. It's like very
Yeah.
like very colorful.
Daytime, colty, summer,
Yeah.
flowers on her head.
Yeah.
That was her first big break. And now she's just in stuff all the time. Which deservingly so. She's so talented. She's such a talented actress. But last thing, so Euphoria. You watched some of that with me, right?
I watched like if you were watching it, and I've seen like bits and pieces. I've seen maybe like a total of like 20 minutes of the whole thing.
I don't really like it that much. Well, I liked it, but it also gave me so much stress and anxiety because like these teenagers were just being so dumb constantly, and you're like, oh my gosh, no, don't do that, don't do this. But I just want to bring it up because I feel like this movie and that movie and other movies she's been in showcase that she's just such a great actress. Like I think Euphoria is one of her best roles, so that's why I bring it up.
Isn't she like addicted to drugs?
Yeah, she's a drug addict, and she's going to like rehab facilities all the time, and now she just does a really,
which is like so different from like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
like
exactly. She's just talented, really talented. Timothy's such a good-looking guy too, and he's so talented too. Like I like these actors. I'm starting to like want to watch their movies because of how well they've done.
What show was it? We were like, oh, that's little Timothy.
Oh,
just barely.
He was in Prisoners.
No,
he was the son in Prison. Oh no, he was the son in Interstellar.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. I was like,
another great movie.
Yeah, he was like a little boy. You're like, oh.
I would put Interstellar in the 9s. Interstellar is one of the best movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was a kid in that though. Man, how old is he?
How old is he?
Is he like our age? I would bet he's close to our age.
I'm sure he's in his 20s.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he's like late 20s, early 20s.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's also, I think, the Zendaya, what's so interesting about her is like Disney. Ooh.
You won't hear that. Anyway.
Disney Channel, I don't know, I just feel like their culture is kind of toxic. They've had so many actors and actresses that just like really struggle after being on Disney Channel. Definitely. For whatever reason. But she was so cute. She was probably like 11 years old. She was on Shake It Up. She was on that with Bella Thorne, the like redhead.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I didn't really watch Disney Channel too
much,
but I know the show.
Bella Thorne, her range is like not nearly as much as Zendaya because every movie I've seen her in, she plays like the mean girl in high school. Like that's what she does. But the two of them like had their little show, and so like from there she just kind of kept. I don't know.
I would say out of all the Disney kids, Zendaya, Selena Gomez was a Disney kid, right?
Mm-hmm. She was on Barney.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So those two and Jake Paul. And say what you want about Jake Paul. I know he's like controversial.
Wait,
but
he was on Disney?
He was.
What was he?
Jake Paul and Logan Paul started on Disney.
What?
I don't know what.
Show?
I don't know what because I wasn't like a Disney kid, but yeah, they went from.
I would love to go back and see like.
I don't. The Paul brothers are. I know they're kind of controversial, but like they went from Disney Channel kids to YouTube sensations to boxers. Like everything they've done, they've say what you want about them. Like, yeah, they're kind of annoying at times. They'll say these things, and you're just like, what? Like I know Logan Paul went into that Suicide Forest thing and did that whole deal. You haven't heard about that? Logan Paul got like canceled in like 2015 because
I don't know much about them at all.
There's like a forest, I want to say in like Japan, where people will go to commit suicide. This is a real thing. And he vlogged. He went on a vlog
Like,
there.
are they like suicide bombers or like?
No, not suicide bombers. It's where people go. It's like a place where people go to like kill themselves and like their souls remain there. It's like a weird like forest placed. Yeah, place.
Oh, they said force.
No, a forest.
That's why I was like, is this like a military?
Yeah, so him and Logan Paul went there. No, Logan Paul went there with like a bunch of vloggers or something, and he was vlogging, and he like showed a dead body on his vlog and went, "Oh my gosh!" And he got like canceled for it because it was like this like, bro, what are you doing?
It's very disrespectful.
Yeah, very disrespectful.
Like, that place is sad, but it's like a sacred. Yeah. It's like a sacred place.
He was like
because a lot of people have died there. Like it's very sad, but it's like the same thing as like a burial ground. Like you just don't do that.
Yeah. So, anyways, it was just like a really immature thing. They were like in their young 20s, so it's like, but still, you should still know better.
It's also like, why would, like, yeah, it's not good that you caught that on camera, but it's like, why would you even go? Like, why would you? There's other places you could go to.
Yeah. But anyways, those three are like the big Disney people that are still doing good. But I want to talk because you mentioned like Disney kids usually end up having like a rough couple of years after their kids and like they're adults now.
I feel like there's a reason why it's not.
Yeah, there's a history.
I don't think it's just like, oh, she made bad choices. You know, I think there's a lot to it.
There's a history of child actors having rough years and doing like, you know, hard drugs and just like having these kind of like maybe committing crimes. There's definitely stuff about like you can this is a whole topic for like another day, but there's like a history of child actors being treated so poorly, sometimes being harassed, sexually harassed or abused. A lot of them don't get
any of the money
the parents do. Like they don't get that money. And also, you know the kid from Jingle All the Way, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's son?
Oh, he's cute little kid.
He got bullied. So he had that role in Jingle All the Way, and he was also Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars. Episode, okay, so we're going on for a long time, but that's okay. So episode 1 of Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, it came out like 20 years after the original Star Wars, and people were really hyped for it because the original Star Wars trilogy, people look so fondly at it for. Like, people love the original trilogy. So when the prequels came out, everyone was so hyped.
Oh.
And there's like clips of people going to the theaters because it was like 2000. So like people had cameras and like, I don't know, a different time.
We were like 2 years old.
We were babies, but everyone was so hyped for it, but the movie flopped. Like everyone hated the movie. Terrible CGI. Like it's just not a very good movie. And he was a kid actor in it, and he actually got bullied in school for his role because everyone trashed that movie so much. So he got bullied in school.
That's sad because it's not even his fault.
And now he's just an average dude. Like he doesn't act in anything. He's like, he looks like, you're like, if you saw a picture of him as a kid and see him now, you'd be like, whoa, what? Like it's just kind of sad. Even Amanda Bynes, like, she's had a rough go.
I think she's, yeah. I think part of it is they're exposed to so much at like such a young age.
A lot of them end up going crazy.
They don't have a normal childhood. They don't have a normal teenagers. They don't have a normal adulthood. A lot of them, like they're exposed to all this media, and then like, I hate to say it, but like a lot of rich people have a lot of drugs. They're with celebrities. They're with they're just in that scene. They have access to everything, and like
people with money and power think that they can get away with things too. That's why you see all of these like Hollywood sexual harassment crap that comes out, like Bill Cosby, like other people that just like do these terrible things. And it's just like these people that have all this money think that they can commit these crimes because they have their power status is higher than the average human. So they have like this God complex.
I don't know what happened. I think my thing
they can do whatever they want.
I think my thing with them is like, this is interesting. They had this they had this success with like Disney, and then after that, it's like after that, like now what? You know? I mean,
Yeah.
Amanda Bynes, she was in a lot of movies
Mm-hmm.
and everything.
She tried to. She's crazy,
I
bro. She. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna with her. I think I heard. I don't know if this is true, but she tried to start a podcast, but she canceled it because she couldn't get Drake on it or something like that. So like the people that she was wanting, they wouldn't go on her podcast
Yeah,
because
I just
dude, her career has just.
I feel bad for them because the fact that it's so many of them, it's not like an individual thing. I think it's like they didn't set them up for success.
Yeah.
They set a lot. I mean, Zendaya, yeah, Selena Gomez, yeah, like a lot of them have done well, but like Miley Cyrus, she kind of went off the rails for a little bit. Like, I think it's like there's definitely something behind it, and so I feel bad for like a lot of them because like their life is so different.
Yeah, and also I feel like this is like they do things that. Okay, first of all, they're all human, right? So people make mistakes and people do these things, but the difference is that our mistakes aren't put on a map. Yeah, they aren't put in the spotlight, and theirs are. So it's like I feel like everyone will be like, they'll read People magazine or they'll go on TMZ and be like, oh my gosh, he looks so stoned at that gas station. He like his life has taken a foul turn, but it's like, dude, people are high at gas stations all the time. Like it's just because they are looked at on a pedestal compared to average humans for whatever reason. I mean, you and I don't do that.
They're around the media all the time. They're around probably a lot of celebrities and people that aren't a good influence.
Mm-hmm.
Like they grow up faster than they should. Like they're probably like 14 going to like all these events for adults. Like they're there because of their show or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they just grow up way too fast. And so I think they don't make the best decisions because they don't have that like, you know what I mean? Like normal development. They're just like fast forwarded. Like, oh, you're in like the adult world now.
Yep. And people, it's so weird to me how adults like, how a grown man can like ask for autographs and be like, my role model is Arnold Schwarzenegger, or like an actor or a professional athlete that he's never met, and he'll like ask for his autograph, say that's his role model. I'm like, to me, I think that's cringe. Like, you can't like, it just is embarrassing. Like I used to work at the airport, as you know, and I really like the musical artist Logic.
Mm-hmm.
I met him and I just said, what's up, dude? I'm gonna see you at your concert. Like, hey Logic, I'm big fan, I'm gonna see you at your concert. And that was it. It's like it's just cringe that these people get like put on pedestals for they have a talent and people are like, oh, and they look at them differently. So like,
I think that's actually like a really negative thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're put on a pedestal, like you said, every mistake you make, like, you just don't get treated like a normal person.
Yeah.
And so that's why they go like, it just, I don't know. It's just really interesting.
It just sucked to have your mistakes be put like on magazines for everyone to read, and then everyone like knows you. Eventually people start to like eventually people get older, they become less talented at whatever they're doing. And eventually all these celebrities are going to have like a downfall. Like
it's just so, yeah, it's just so interesting.
Look at Michael Jackson, what happened to him.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a whole nother
I wonder what the difference is, like, if it's like family support too, like the difference between like, I should forgot her name. Lizzie McGuire, what's her name?
Lizzie McGuire. Oh, Lindsay Lohan?
No.
Lizzie McGuire.
The actress. You know who I'm talking about?
I thought that was Lindsay Lohan.
No. She's blonde. Lindsay Lohan's redhead.
Miley Cyrus? No, that was Hannah
Oh,
Montana.
man. Never mind. You don't know.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I have no idea.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh, man. What's her name?
Not a Disney kid.
The girl that played Lizzie McGuire. For her name. Okay.
I thought it was Lindsay Lohan.
No, honey.
But Lindsay Lohan is another one who had a fault. Like Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears.
Yeah, no, I know, but listen.
Okay. I don't know.
This is a positive outcome.
Okay, go ahead.
So,
I don't know who
no,
you're
Lindsay
about.
Lohan, Lizzie McGuire, two very different people.
All right.
Lizzie McGuire, like, she's not acting anymore, but like, she didn't have crazy like teenage adult. Like, you know, she didn't like get into drugs. Like, at least it wasn't like on the media. Like, she's married now. She has like a couple of kids. Or like Bridget Mendler. You know who she is? Good Luck
No.
Charlie.
No.
You ever watch Good Luck Charlie?
I don't know what that is.
Really?
Nope.
So she's, anyways, in that show, she's like, her character's like the older sister. Like, she's in high school. I don't think she really acts anymore, but she is like getting her PhD. Like, it's just so interesting, like how they end up like.
She stepped away from the fame and tried to live a more normal life. Is that what you're saying?
I kind of think so, but at the same time, like
that happened.
At the same time, like Zendaya's not the only ones, and there has to be another one too. Like Zendaya, Selena Gomez. There have to be like other people that are like still in the limelight that have.
Oh yeah, there's there's definitely celebrities that are good role models. Like there's so many allegations like with Tom Hanks about him being like a child predator, Bill Cosby being like, there's just a lot of darkness with that power and like that level of fame. I think there's just like a lot of dark stuff with Hollywood, like with you see these actors like doing these crazy things and like allegedly they did this or that. But yeah, that's a story for another day. that's a different podcast.
You're trying to get into like deeper.
I know. We're conspiracy theorist podcast.
More
now.
like controversial stuff.
Yeah. Anyways. So, on the radar, next episode 3, we're going to be talking about Kung Fu Panda 2. We're going to be talking about...
No, 4.
Oh yeah, Kung Fu Panda 4. So, Kung Fu Panda 4. Oh yeah, that's a good... Yeah, let's do that. All right,
that seems corny.
No, I like it. It's cool. It's cool.
You have to say something. You can't just be silent and just like...
All right, let's think about this.
You can't just be like...
Oh, I know. Thanks for sipping tea with me. And I'll see you in the next one. All right, we gotta be done.